cold doesn't scream. It doesn't chase you. It doesn't warn you. It waits. And when you finally realize what it's doing to your body, it's often already too late. This is the true story of a man who walked into the frozen wilderness and slowly realized that nature had no intention of letting him leave alive. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't inexperienced. And he didn't think he was in danger. It was supposed to be a simple journey, a short route through a remote, snow-covered region, something he had done before. The kind of trip where you tell yourself, "I'll be back before nightfall." But in cold environments, confidence is often the first mistake. At first, everything felt normal. The snow beneath his boots was firm. The air was sharp but manageable. The silence was calm, almost peaceful, too peaceful. He walked for hours, following what he believed was the correct direction. Landmarks looked familiar, until they didn't. The terrain slowly began to change. Trees thinned out, the wind grew stronger, and that's when doubt crept in. He stopped walking. That pause, just a few seconds, was the moment everything began to go wrong. Because in extreme cold, stopping is dangerous. Your body cools faster than you realize. Your muscles stiffen. Your mind starts to slow. He checked his surroundings again. Nothing looked right. The path was gone. The direction he came from looked exactly the same as the one ahead. White, gray, endless. That's when he understood something terrifying. He was lost. At first, panic didn't hit. Instead, his brain tried to solve the problem logically. Just stay calm. Think. You can fix this. He tried walking back the way he thought he came. Then another direction, then another. Every option looked the same. The wind picked up, pushing snow across the ground, erasing footprints almost instantly. His trail was disappearing behind him, and with it, his chances of finding his way back. As daylight began to fade, the temperature dropped rapidly. Cold doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in. First, his fingers went numb, then his toes, then his face. Breathing became painful. Each inhale burned his lungs. He realized he couldn't feel parts of his body anymore. That's when fear finally took control. Because numbness doesn't mean safety. It means the cold is winning. He knew one thing. If night fully arrived, survival would become nearly impossible. Temperatures in this region dropped far below what the human body could tolerate. He needed shelter immediately, but there was nothing, no cabin, no trees dense enough to block the wind, no rocks large enough to hide behind, just snow, wind, and open space. So he did the only thing he could think of. He kept moving. Walking wasn't about finding help anymore. It was about staying alive. Movement kept his blood flowing. It slowed hypothermia. Stopping meant freezing. So he walked. Through exhaustion, through pain, through growing confusion. His body screamed for rest, but rest meant death. As darkness closed in, his thoughts became distorted. He started imagining warmth. He pictured fire. He remembered summer days. His brain was trying to escape the cold, even if his body couldn't. This is one of the most dangerous moments in cold exposure, when your mind begins to betray you. He stumbled, fell. Snow filled his gloves and boots. That moment nearly ended everything. Wet clothing in freezing temperatures accelerates heat loss dramatically. He struggled to stand back up, hands shaking uncontrollably. His coordination was fading. The cold was now inside him. At some point, he realized he could no longer feel his feet. That wasn't relief, that was frostbite. Parts of his body were freezing beyond recovery, but he couldn't think about that. Thinking too far ahead would break him. So he focused on one thing, the next step. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time becomes meaningless in survival situations. He didn't know how long he had been walking. He only knew he was still alive, barely. And then, something changed. The wind softened. The terrain shifted slightly. A break in the land. A shallow depression in the snow. It wasn't much, but it was something. He collapsed into it, using his remaining strength to shield his body from the wind, curling inward, protecting his core. He didn't sleep. He couldn't afford to. Instead, he drifted in and out of consciousness, forcing himself to move whenever his body tried to shut down. This went on through the night, the longest night of his life. When morning finally came, the cold didn't disappear, but light returned, and with it, hope. In the distance, something different caught his eye. A shape that didn't belong to the wilderness, a line, a contrast, civilization. Using the last of his strength, he moved toward it. Every step felt heavier than the last. His body was damaged, his hands were barely functional, but he was alive. Against all odds. He was eventually found, rescued. But survival came at a cost. Permanent injuries, frostbite. Parts of his body would never fully recover. Yet he survived something that kills countless people every year. Not because he was stronger, not because he was lucky, but because he refused to stop moving when stopping meant the end. The cold didn't defeat him, but it came very close. Because the frozen wilderness doesn't need to chase you. It only needs patience and silence.